Okay, today I'm with Nana Afadzinu, the Executive Director of the West African Civil Society Institute, based in Accra, Ghana. It's a pleasure, Nana.
Yes, nice meeting you.
Thank you. So, Nana, what does WACSI do?
WACSI is a civil society organization, and it was set up by the Open Society Initiative for West Africa to build the institutional and operational capacity of civil society within the sub-region. So we focus a lot on institutional strengthening skills, operational skills, things that would make civil society more efficient and effective at what they do already. So that is what WACSI does.
Very nice. And how have you been able to factor the responsibility to protect, or R2P, into your organization's work?
As I said, we look at capacity building, and it's not only technical capacity, but knowledge capacity as well. And so for WACSI, new areas that affect development within the sub-region. And one of those new areas is the R2P norm, the responsibility to protect norm, which affects peace and security within the sub-region. Is one of the areas that civil society needs to know about. And so WACSI has done some research, come up with a toolkit, and will be doing training for civil society and also for government agencies and other related agencies on this, to give them more knowledge capacity on the R2P.
Now, you were able to attend yesterday's UNGA dialogue on R2P and the role of regional and sub-regional organizations. Can I get your thoughts on that meeting?
I think it was an interesting meeting, especially coming on the back of recent happenings in Libya and Cote d'Ivoire. And so it gave the opportunity to kind of interrogate the norm a bit more. And so for me, apart from the recent happenings and the opportunity it gave, it was also good to look at, to see the UN really look at what kind of role sub-regional organizations and regional organizations have played or should play in advancing the R2P norm. And so it was very interesting for me. It was a great opportunity also to look at the issues. And I think that particularly if you look at Africa as a continent and the West Africa sub-region, a lot has been done on R2P. If you look at our normative frameworks, if you look at the actual engagements on the ground, practical engagements, you realize that there has been the implementation of R2P within the sub-region by the AU, by the ECOWAS in Kenya, in Guinea, in Cote d'Ivoire. And so it was good to see that this has been recognized. And if you heard the different statements that were made, country after country, delegation after delegation, mentioned what had gone on within Africa and how it had impacted on the R2P norm. So that was good for me as an African civil society activist to hear what kind of contribution the region had made, and also to actually see that we can play a very useful role in advancing this very important norm to protect not only the sub-region and the continent as a whole, but the whole world.
Okay. Now, following up from that, what do you think are the next steps for R2P within the context of not only AU as a continental organization, a continental body, but also the different regional bodies?
Well, I think, one, there's a need for a more coordination, and there must be some structure put in place to ensure that there's that link between the global level, the regional level, and the sub-regional level on R2P and how to implement it. You know, and to see, because if you look at the sub-regions and the regions, they are there on the ground. They know what is happening. They have the contextual knowledge, you know, and they can really make very good contribution to what kind of discussions go on and the decisions that go on at the global level, particularly at the Security Council level. And so it's important to have a structure or a mechanism in place that ensures that there's this kind of coordination. And I don't think that exists right now. And so it would be good for that to be in place. That's one. Secondly, I would like to see that structure ensure that civil society is part of it. So you do not have just governments talking to governments, but you actually have civil society being a part of this process. And at all the different levels, global, regional, sub-regional, you do have very active civil society organizations. I mean, I can give an example of the ICRtoP, which WACSI is a part of. But at the regional level, you have different civil society organizations, and you also have at the sub-regional level. And so it is important for these civil society organizations, who are even closer to the ground than the governments are, to be part of these processes. And it will be good to see. There are already examples looking at the early warning systems at the African Union level, at the ECOWAS level. But it will be good also to see more of that in this mechanism that coordinates all the three levels that I've talked about. So that is something that I see as very important. Thirdly, I think it will also be important for us to see, when we say prevention, a lot of the statements that were made yesterday talked about putting more emphasis on the preventive methods, you know, and looking at that pillar, and that first and second pillar, rather than the third pillar, more of the first and second than the third, not completely deleting the third, but looking and placing the emphasis more on the first and second. So it will be important for there to be more discussions on that, to really concretize what that means. And finally, I think it will be important to look at the third pillar as well. When we are talking about intervention, what is the scope that we are talking about? We can look at the different resolutions that are passed, but I mean, how is it really implemented? You know, and does it really protect people? Are we talking about regime change, or protecting the people, which is what R2P really sets out to do? So these are the things that I think that in the coming years there needs to be more focus on, there needs to be more discussion to really advance the R2P and make it what it was set out to be.
Your point really touches on what the Special Advisor to the Secretary General, Edward Luck, said yesterday. A stool without three legs does not stand, right? While prevention is one of the most important and integral parts of the R2P framework, we do need to take a look at that third pillar as well when, you know, intervention may become necessary in certain cases. Very important. Well, Mrs. Afadzinu, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.